This is a tutorial on how to cancel a real estate transaction using the CAR form CC, or cancellation of contract, release of deposit, and cancellation of escrow. That title's a mouthful, and it's a mouthful because this is actually two forms in one document. So it's basically a single page document, but there are two different things going on here. They just happen to go hand in hand. And so that's why they're both in the same document, and I'll explain. See this line right here in the middle? This divides the two forms. This top half is the cancellation. From here above is the cancellation. That's it. That's all you need to cancel a transaction. And I'll explain. We start by filling it out. We reference the purchase agreement and the date of the purchase agreement, names of the parties and the address. And then we check the box of which party is canceling. Now, for a seller to cancel, the seller must send either a notice to perform to the buyer, in which the buyer doesn't perform in the next 2 days, and the seller can then cancel, or the seller has to send a demand to close and wait 3 days. One of those two things needs to happen first, and then the seller can cancel. Now, the buyer has a little bit more wiggle room. The buyer can cancel during a contingency period. And when the buyer does that, typically they check this box here, A, and then they write in the paragraph containing the contingency that they're referencing to cancel. Now, when the seller does it, then they can check this box if they did a notice to perform. Either way, you'll very easily find which solution's best. But remember that sometimes people put other and make up some reason. There are stipulations that determine if a party can cancel, and that needs to be taken into consideration here, and it's outlined very clearly. So you'll check that box. Sometimes if something happens like really early on and both parties realize it's not going to be a fit, you can check mutual agreement and be done with it. But that's it. Now, one party signs, the party that's canceling the contract. They sign right here. That's it. It's over. This is now canceled, provided that the party has done it. Let's say the buyer's done it within a contingency period, or the seller has served a notice to perform or demand to close and waited the period. Once the party has done what they need to do to rightfully cancel, they sign this section here, and then that's done. And so sometimes agents say to me, well, the other party hasn't signed off on the cancellation. No. The cancellation is unilateral. There's no counter signature from the other party allowing the cancellation. One party cancels. That's it. What they're referring to is down here where you have two different signatures for both parties. This is the release of deposit, an entirely separate matter that happens to go hand in hand with the cancellation. This is because that deposit, even if one party is entitled to getting it refunded to them or dispersed to them, cannot leave escrow until both parties sign instructions. So now that we're done with the cancellation and we understand that it's unilateral and that you don't need the other party to sign, one party cancels and then it's over, we can go down here. Now this is going to require two parties to sign. This is the release of deposit, the second half. Remember how I said there are two forms in one document? This is the second form. So the release of deposit, you'll fill it out here at escrow number with an escrow company name right there. Now, often you'll see that the seller will authorize the buyer's deposit to come back to them. That's it. So if a buyer cancels within the contingency period, they're going to check this box, C1, saying, give me my money back. And the rest down here basically pretty much are special circumstances. Now, the reason why I say that is because, let's see, buyer. So right here, where it says buyer authorizes the release of deposit, this is number 2. I don't see that as often because here's the problem. Even when the seller is entitled to the deposit, buyers seem to not cooperate. Even if they're in the wrong, they'll fight it, or they'll try to negotiate a settlement. And that's where there's these partial releases and special circumstances. But almost always when the buyer's backing out in the contingency period, they check C1 right here. And if the buyer realizes that they have breached and the seller's entitled, well, then they'll check this box here, C2. I don't see that as often, although it should be done if buyers are grounded in reality and their agents advise them accordingly and the brokers advise them accordingly. But almost always buyers seem to put up a fight before part or some of their deposit, part or all of their deposit goes back to the seller. So that's it. Now, when you're filling this out, and you're filling this out, typically the party canceling fills this whole thing out. So if you're the seller, let's say you're the buyer. If you're the buyer, you'll check the box that the buyer's canceling because of the inspection contingency, and then you'll ask for all your money back in C1. If you're the seller because the buyer didn't remove their contingencies, or let's give a better example. Let's say the buyer removed all their contingencies but refused to close. The seller can check this box, demand a close, and the seller can ask for their money, the buyer's deposit, to go to them right here. But however this second half is filled out needs to be agreeable to the other party, or else this bottom half goes nowhere. And the top half can be done without the bottom half being filled out. Just to answer another question that comes up occasionally, because remember, it's two different things going on here. I hope you found this helpful. If you have questions, leave a comment. I'll be happy to explain. Don't overthink it. It's pretty straightforward. Just read the text. And again, any questions, leave a comment. I'll be happy to answer. Thanks for watching.